Welcome, everybody. We're ready to start our meeting. Just so everybody will know. Well, welcome to the Lincoln SMD1 Wastewater Authority, the regular meeting of the Board of Directors, January 12th, 2024. We will begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. Please join us in saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Need a roll call, please? Here.
Director Colliston.
Here.
Director Andrietta.
Here.
Director Landon.
Here.
Chair Holmes.
Here. We now move to item D, public comment on non-agenda items. Any member of the public have, want to address the board on any item that's not on our agenda? Is there any, excuse me, is there anyone online?
No one online.
Alrighty, thank you. Excuse me. We'll now move to the action calendar, approval of minutes for the 2 through 12, December 8th, 2023 regular meeting. Any questions, comments on the minutes? Hearing none, I will. So move.
I'll second.
Motion by Director Carlstein, second by Director Landon. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Alrighty, we'll move to item 2, consent items.
We have no consent items.
No consent items, all
Keep it
right.
as a placeholder.
Now we will move to item 3, the, excuse me, General Manager's report.
Thank you, Chair. So we've been focused on the process of evaluating potential new people for the operations contract. It's taken the biggest chunk of my time since the last meeting. That's the big thing going on. Plant-wise, everything is going well. We're working towards also focusing on the expansion or improvement plans. MPDS permit wise, we talked about that a little bit last month. So state board staff is working on our MPDS permit renewal. They've sent us some multiple questions as they are trying to put together their draft permit. We've provided them information. They were after. We expect in the next week or two to get the draft permit for consideration that'll go to the board. That will talk to Wes. He's going to take a look at it as well as we move forward. The one thing we're really interested in trying to figure out and look out is that they asked a lot of questions about our ponds and which ponds are lined and which ones aren't. So we're kind of curious what direction they're headed with that. As far as I'm not the lawyer, but water seeping into the ground should not be a NPDS permit issue in my opinion, but we will address that aggressively to minimize any impacts on us. Just a reminder and let everyone else know in the audience, we're going to break for a special meeting. The reason we had to do that is with the holidays, trying to get responses to folks on the appraisal piece took a little bit. So we got a last minute proposal on that, which is one of the items. And then the other item is on the special meeting is for replacing the pressure tanks. Last month, we talked about the maybe trying an alternative process to the DAF. Gary did a good job evaluating that, digging it through. Finally got a response from the State Water Board staff, and it was, it concerned us about what kind of testing we'd have to do to prove that out. It just didn't seem like it's worth the effort. So Care had found a lower cost tank replacement. And so that's the second agenda item. Just want to give you a heads up on that and why it came in late. That's really all I have to cover, I think.
Thank you. Any comments, questions from board members?
No.
Anyone in the audience wish to address this item? Is there anyone online?
No, none online.
All righty, thank you. Then we will move to item number 4, operations report and update. Gary Hengst. Morning, Gary.
Good morning, members of the board, George and Wes. Well, I feel like we finished the year very strong. It's our first year. We exceeded 2 billion gallons through the wastewater treatment plant. So that was a milestone. I think I've been kind of looking to see when that would happen. At any rate, not only that, but with only one violation in the entire year, and actually you can go back several years with just the one. But just to give you a perspective, by the way, there wasn't any facility in our region that didn't have a violation. 6 is the average, and so for this year, there's out of 62 facilities. So I did confirm that. So anyhow, it just gives you an idea. Yeah, I think everything's running quite well. We got all the equipment back that we had out, including an extra motor. The issue that we had last year with one of our motors going out. We have a spare on the shelf now for filter feed and maturation pumps. And we did get one of the pumps back that we'd had out for repair, influent pump, but we did take it to a shop today, and we'll get it back next week. They're going to do some work on the impeller to improve the performance there. We found it wasn't pumping quite as well. So they're going to build that up, and hopefully we'll get basically a new impeller out of the deal. So good way to do it. Otherwise, all that costs about $20,000 to replace that. And we'll do it for a few thousand. Thank you for your consideration about the DAF tanks and that whole process there. I think George covered that well. And looking forward to moving forward with getting that system back in tip-top shape. The only other thing I had, that's about it. So any questions?
Any
concerns?
questions from directors?
Question. The temporary fix that you did for
Yes,
the DAF tanks.
yes.
6 months, 8 months.
Yeah, no guarantees. Okay, so we put several coats of a strong coating to seal up any potential acceleration of any leaks, that sort of thing.
And so that doesn't get involved with the board because it's a temporary fix.
It is, and we're not using it. It's not necessary right now. It's when usually it's more June, July timeframe where that would be necessary. It's the algae is what that system really when that becomes critical. So the tanks do take 20 to 24 weeks lead time. We'll see if we can accelerate that perhaps. Maybe we can get one tank done and then the second one, something like that. We'll see what we can do once we get permission to move forward with that.
Any other questions? Does anyone in the audience wish to address the board on this item? Anybody online? Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll now move to item 5, consider approval of an amendment to the agreement with Auburn Ravine Ranch for farm management services. What? Don't be kidding me.
She thought we skipped something. She thought we skipped something.
Item 5 is the agreement for valuation services. Did I miss something?
No, but that's the stuff.
So on item 5, that's the one where we had to bring information to late for, so this would be an appropriate time to pause the regular meeting right now and maybe open the special meeting and take care of those items. Oh, wait, sorry. Got on a correction from the
10:15.
attorney. It's 10:10, so we can't start that meeting yet. Now that we're all thoroughly confused, what do you want me to do now?
I would,
So,
Chair, I would suggest we skip 5. I would suggest we skip 5, finish this agenda, and then
Oh, okay.
start the
So
regular.
move to item 6.
so
Yes.
I do have a quick question, just technical question here. Item 5 is, I think it is in the printed agenda, but online on your agenda that you sent to us, it's not included. You have it listed, but there's no link and there's no documentation on the agenda online. It's here in the printed one, but it's not,
Yeah, the one I printed out,
it's
it does
not,
not have it.
it's not listed. I mean, it's not, it's here, but
Yes.
it's not noted as number 5. And so I had to like search for it, but then on the online version, you have it listed, but there's no link to it and there's no documents online. So I'm just wondering why that is.
That is because that item is being addressed in the special meeting.
Gotcha,
So the
okay.
link, there's all the
Oh, I
backup
gotcha, okay.
information's in the special.
Ah,
meeting
gotcha, okay.
agenda. So
Thank
one-
you. I was a little,
apologies for the
I'm sorry, a little
confusion.
confused here.
No, we're doing all we can to be as compliant and transparent as we can.
No,
and
I
sometimes
appreciate that.
Causes a little stumble.
I appreciate that.
So
Okay.
we're not gonna, on item 5 on the regular agenda, it's going to be moved to the
Special meeting.
special
Yes,
meeting.
correct.
So now may I move to item 6?
Yes.
Okay, final review of the bylaws and policies and procedures manual for LiSWA consider adoption of the bylaws and policies procedures manual previously provided the board for public input.
If you like, Chair, I'll jump in just to be able to say that we took the comments that were received over the last several meetings. And since the last meeting, we did receive comments from members of the finance team and from city staff. So thank you to all of those individuals who provided more comments. Those comments are reflected in a red line track change format within the agenda packet that's available online and hard copy here in the boardroom. I'm happy to go through those if you have questions or concerns or whatever your desires and preferences are. But overall, the key points that I made a couple of notes of to address were really in chapter 4 and addressing some of the, well, in chapter 4, section 6.7 in particular, what the general manager's authority is. And so city staff had some good comments there. Whether to make that from $50,000 to $100,000. So that's an example of a substantive change, but for the most part, it's really intact from how it was presented before to this board in the last meeting.
Okay, Wayne, thank you. So any comments, questions from directors?
No, thanks. I read through it and I'm good.
I have an overall question and it has to do, because if I understood what I read and where we're at, the manual, the document is still not complete. There are still being changes referenced in particular in the finance area. What bothers me a little bit, unless there's some definition that it's not complete, it's subject of momentary change, quick change. What is we're running open loop without policies and procedures, have been. What's the downside to run that way for another month or two or whatever it takes to complete it? What's the downside?
Well,
And what's the plus side for doing that?
I would say the downside is we've gone through these documents for several months. We've gotten to this point. So in the interest of the public and everyone, if we adopt these, they don't have to keep coming back and they get confused over what's changing and what's not. What's coming forward is a little different. from the finance side, it's accounting policies and procedures. So it's more of a direction to staff and to the county staff that assist us with processing payments, those kind of things. It's a more of a procedural thing. These are more overarching policies and of how this board operates. Did I do that right?
I think so. And so, Director, to address your question of the downside, I'll defer to the GM's comments on those. I mean, I think that's true. By delaying, the upside is just really the converse of that, creating more certainty. Now, the fact of being a newer agency, not new as I would categorize it now, but newer, these things do take time, and it's good to be robust and thorough. And I think that's been done well by the board and everyone involved. And, but to have to default, at least in my mind, I always think, okay, statutes, regulations, policies, and customs and practices. So to the extent we don't have clear law, such as for Brown Act, which is pretty clear, or our JPA agreement, which does provide some good guidance, we are kind of in a default mode of customs and practices for public agencies, and that's worked fine. But this is intended to just create even more certainty and manage those expectations. And the finance team's changes, that was done through the municipal financial advisor, as well as through special legal counsel, bond counsel, and of course with the treasurer, the treasurer's input. So it's, but I do think it's along the lines as what George described, is just providing more of that process of how these different things will be dealt with, particularly in the bond context as financing gets underway.
My impression is the bylaws and policies are really pretty well set, clean, whatever. It's policy, it's procedures. Correct, that will be.
Right, there were
Fine.
a couple of little tweaks, I think, of comments we received on the bylaws,
Yeah.
which
And-
were
and-
not major.
And what I referenced in the memo about what Andy Sisk was recommending, that's a whole nother animal. That won't change anything in what you're adopting. That is just covering more topics that handle more day-to-day operations. It's not, it won't change these.
So they are all procedures, not policies.
Yes.
I'm okay.
Right, and for example, just to be clear, in section 4, not positioned, I think, to screen share easily, but it is in the packet, and I could represent to you all in the public that in section 4, one of the track changes is the following types of debts are permitted under this policy, and then it's just adding, the red line is just a clarity that one of the comments came in, bless you, where it says obligations issued by governmental agencies, though for clarity, LiSWA debt would not include obligations issued by other governmental agencies. And then it goes on to enumerate. So it was more of a clarifying point just to make sure we're not taking on some other debt by another agency. So that's a pretty good example of the kinds of comments and changes made. Protective in nature.
I just have one super small, minor, it's probably not even worth mentioning edit on section 1 where you crossed out November 2022, the word in can also be crossed out.
Oh, good.
Sorry, it was just
Oh, terrific.
copy edit.
And
That's all I have.
I want to tease who had me change that. No, I'll do that privately. No. But that's, yes, thank you, Director.
Any other comments, questions from directors? Anyone in the audience wish to address this item? Or anyone online?
I see no hands raised online.
Already. Ask for a motion to adopt the bylaws and policies procedure manual.
I will move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Director Landon, second by Director Andriata. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? The item is moved. Thank you. Okay, now the time has arrived to move to our special meeting of the Board of Directors. Calling it to order. Do we need a roll call, et cetera?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Director Crosskent.
Here.
Director Andretta.
Here.
Director Landon.
Here.
Chair Holmes.
Here. We'll move to item C, public comment on non-agenda items. Are there any members of the public wish to address any items that are not on our agenda? Anyone online?
Anyone online?
All righty, thank you. Now we'll move to item 1, consider approval to authorize a budget amendment to the Stantec agreement and tank replacement project in the amount not to exceed $55,000.
Thank you, Chair. We talked about this a little bit. I just want to clarify too, it's, the folks have been working with Gary through this whole process, so the smoothest, easiest way to transition this is actually have you approve the agreement change to Stantec so that LiSWA doesn't have to get in the middle of bidding and paying bills, et cetera. So I think we've covered the topic of why we're doing this and where we're at, and I can expand on that if you'd like.
Okay, any comments from directors?
I have a question. Question is, I understand the optimum thing is to do the replacement. We have 2 bids for replacement, where essentially what should be the same tanks and the same items, and the 300% difference in the price. 150,000 and 40,000. Why?
Good question. Gary, can you help me with that?
I didn't get to Gary before the meeting, so I'm sorry.
That is a good question. West Tech, who provided that quote, doesn't actually make these tanks. So they have they've gone to a tank manufacturer. I'm not sure even where this company is located, but probably in Utah. They're in that area. And then they add their fee to it. So you're getting we're eliminating the middleman basically by going to Tiger Tanks direct. So that's the only difference I know of. And it's a place out of Bakersfield, so shipping isn't too bad that way too. And they have the exact same drawings, so
That's what I think.
Yeah.
A tank,
right? Yeah.
so many gallons.
Yeah, if their markup was large, which it it might be, I don't know. Obviously, they don't share that information, but that's the only thing I can figure.
But the specifications, we're getting the same
Same exact tank.
in product.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of an easy decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other comments from board members? Does anyone in the audience wish to address the board on this item? Anyone online? No one online. All right, we'll bring it back for approval. Well, this is the part where someone makes,
Okay, I'll move approval.
I'll second.
motion by Director Landon, second by Director Andrada. All those in please say. all in
Chair.
favor, say aye.
Legal counsel is recommending a roll call vote.
Roll call. Oh, roll call. Okay. Clerk, please call the roll. Somebody.
Chair Crosskent,
Yes.
Chair Andrietta,
Yes.
Chair Landon. Oh, sorry. Director Landon,
Yes.
Chair Holmes. Get ahead of myself.
Yes, thank you. Now we'll move to item 2. This is consider approval of agreements for valuation service with Intrica Realty Resources, no, Realty Resources, and Desmond Marcello and Amster regarding real property and personal property equipment. Sure, your
Thank you.
item?
Thank you, Chair. So this is one of those really fun learning things I've gotten to do with this new gig. We as an entity need to get our books in order for our first year audit. And one of the things that we needed to establish is our assets and liabilities. And so where do you start with assets? So I talked with Nita and the county finance folks. The recommendation was to go out and have a company do this, so we know it's done right. It's an independent evaluation. We're not just guessing what the value should be. The county, I think it's their Buildings and Grounds Department, gave me their list of people they use for appraising. I went through that full list, emailed, contacted about 8 different entities, got a response from these folks that are in your packet. There's 2 pieces because it's very, not easy to find a whole house in one place. So one of them is the buildings and the property, like a normal real estate transaction. And then the other is all the equipment. And so that will give us a base value for all of that equipment to put in our books going forward, and we're going to know it's correct.
Any questions, comments about this item?
The PP&E part of it will establish the asset list and the current replacement value for those assets. It will establish the baseline for future. I'm saying this is a statement, it's really a question. That this is going to form the baseline for reserve analysis and reserve building in the future. So we are establishing the baseline for future repair and replacement of equipment. We are also establishing separately the value of the real assets that we have contributed, we being both parties, to, besides do the normal accounting depreciation, which never made sense to me in the government. But what it does is establish the baseline for unwinding the JPA if that ever comes to happen. Have I said everything correctly?
I can't answer the last one. I do want to clarify the other part. So this appraiser is getting the list that comes from Stantec, has their full equipment list where they track repairs, et cetera. He will start with that list, and then he's going to go out and do a field walk. So we'll be able to pick up anything that he doesn't find on the list and things like that. But I just wanted to be clear that you understood there's a baseline list that they're starting with for this process. They're not generating it from scratch.
Understand, but the value, which is what we're buying, they will establish from the list in the addition. That will form the baseline for our long-term asset management plan that I hope we will have.
Tristan and I were just discussing, and I drew the short straw, so I thought I'd come up. Tristan and I were just discussing this, and I drew the short straw, so I thought I'd come up and assist. So yes, this after anytime an agency receives contributed property, and so when we formed LiSWA, the new agency did not pay its members for that formation. It didn't pay its members for the assets and capital that it received. It received it. And so in order to value that, you can't take the city's value of a Bobcat or the city's value of the building. You then, as the new agency, have to get a valuation of all of that structure and equipment. And then, yes, that information will be recorded on their books as capital assets, and which will form the basis of depreciation. And also, as you said, help guide George on how much he should be putting aside for repairs and replacements of those future equipments, infrastructure, buildings, repairs, et cetera. Yes to all your questions.
And so my only question was that you and Tristan are on board with using DM&A?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments from director?
I'm good.
Anyone, thank you, Anita.
Yeah, thank you, Nita. Appreciate that.
Anyone in the audience wish to address this item? For anyone online?
Online.
All righty, I'll bring it back to the directors for approval.
Okay, I move approval of this item.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Director Honorati,
It's Andriata.
Andriata,
Okay, you're doing fine.
all right. And Director Landon, all those, it's roll call.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call vote.
Director Carlson,
Yes,
Director Andriata.
Yes.
Director Landon.
Yes.
Chair Holmes.
Yes, all
Thank
right.
you.
So I believe that concludes the items on our special agenda. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now we go to item number 7.
We're gonna adjourn at 10:31, just for the
10:31.
record.
Go back to our regular meeting. And we'll go to item number 7, the legal report. Legal report from council.
Thank you, Chair. Just an informational item that might be of some interest in wastewater issues. The State Water Resources Control Board on December 18th approved for the first time ever regulations for direct potable reuse of treated wastewater. So this is brand new to California. There are some districts in the state that have been doing this for a while. Orange County Water District is really a world-class leader. I think Japan has been the next closest competitor, at least by my knowledge, going back 10+ years. But that's the level they've been at. But this is now enabling other agencies to be able to review these regulations, see if it fits within the business interests of that agency. And what it does is, some of the obvious things, making reuse of existing water resources rather than relying on the precipitation cycle provides those benefits. There could be other benefits. So I have not analyzed these regulations in the last few weeks since they came out, but just wanted to let you know those are there. What those potentially mean for us as an agency, I don't have a really good answer at this point. But it's a big step that the state has made to make these regulations available.
Comments, questions from directors? I just want to let you know that I have toured the Orange County wastewater treatment plant. Actually, I think some of that. Actually, we had a Mountain County Resources Association meeting Southern California. Brought some water in. We all tripped. We didn't
Yeah, the marketing
You know,
campaigns
it
have not
is
been great.
amazing to see how many dollars they've spent. That's millions of dollars to do that. It is resourceful, so. It's fun. Oh,
That is all. Thank you.
all righty. Is there any questions regarding the legal report? Being none, this is item 8, director's comments. I just made one, so anybody else? All righty. Now, we're at item 10. We're going to go in closed session matters, to convene to closed session for matters listed on the agenda. Public employee evaluation, mid-year review, title, general manager, and board secretary. So we will now go into closed session. If the audience will please vacate the premises.
For the room.
Okay, the board has just returned from closed session. I'll have the council report out.
Thank you, Chair. There's no reportable action for the item listed on the agenda. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that concludes our meeting and adjourn.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.